Hello and welcome back, dear students, once again to your channel. Today's video is for my class 11 students, and in today's video, we shall be discussing an essay by your Mark Twain. Now, this is present in your book called Prism, a collection of short stories. All right. Now, this is the second prose prescribed in your syllabus for the ISC. But before I start, you know what's coming up next. Yes. If you like my videos, please do not forget to give me a like and also to subscribe to my channel. It shall keep me motivated. All right. So, without any further delay, let's get started. Advice to Youth is on page 15, and I'm reading about the author in the box. No matter what happens, you are never going to miss reading this box, okay? You will always read this box before going to read your poems and poetries. Poems and short stories, that is. I'm sorry. Yes. Samuel Langhorne Clemens, born on November 30, 1835, and he passed away in 1910. He is known by his pen name Mark Twain. So Mark Twain's original name is Samuel Langhorne Clemens. He was an American writer, humorist, entrepreneur, publisher, and lecturer. He has been praised as the greatest humorist the United States has produced, and William Faulkner has called him the father of American literature. Some of his most famous novels include The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Great American Novel, that is, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and so on and so forth. Coming down, Mark Twain's writing style, that is the last paragraph, is characterized by humor, strong narrative, and evocative descriptions, as well as brilliant control of vernacular speech. He was a humorist, journalist, and novelist who became famous internationally for the distinctive style of his narratives. Now, Advice to Youth was written in 1882. This is a very, very important section. Advice to Youth, written in 1882, it explores the fact that youth are being sculpted and shaped to society's standards. He feels that the uniqueness is being camouflaged and concealed by these standards and expectations. He takes this opportunity to evaluate society's standards and, of course, criticize authoritative figures that are thus shaping the young. So, Mark Twain was of the opinion the youth today lack originality. Whatever everyone is doing, or rather, whatever society wants them to do, they are doing just that. There is lack of originality, there is lack of creativity. The tone of the essay is satirical. Twain plays on the initial assumption of the reader that this piece would be another boring life lesson by twisting it using satire and humor. Through suggestion, innuendo, and paradox, he therefore makes a scathing commentary on the standards set by a self serving society and giving us considerable food for thought. Alright, let's see what it has to say. Advice to Youth by Mark Twain. Being told I would be expected to talk here, I inquired what sort of talk I ought to make. What am I supposed to give? What kind of a lecture? They said it should be something suitable to youth, something didactic, that is, something which gives out a moral message, instructive, or something in the nature of good advice. Very well, I have a few things in my mind. which I have often longed to say for the instruction of the young. For it is in one's tender early years that such things will best take root and be most enduring and most valuable. So Twain feels that it is only the youth who are in their formative years are only suitable for, manipulation, because since they are in their formative years, you can easily feed in their mind your opinion, your views, your ideas. A mind which is already formed, which is already developed, you cannot, you know, really manipulate that. So it is very difficult to make the older people believe something. It is the youth always who can be manipulated. And this is precisely why you will see all political leaders who come to address the rally just before elections come in, their main target audience is always the youth, because the youth vote matters a lot. Youth is ever growing population, so their vote is going to make them either win the election or lose them. And so it is very important to manipulate the youth. So that is why here also Mark Twain addresses his thoughts towards the youth. First, then, I will say to you, my young friends, and I say it beseechingly, urgingly. So, he is going to give six set of advices to the youth. What are they? The first one: always obey your parents when they are present. This is the best policy in the long run, because if you don't, they will make you. Most parents think they know better than you do, and you can generally make more by humoring that you can generally make more by humoring that superstition than you can by acting on your own better judgment. So he is telling you to obey your parents selectively. Selective obedience to parents is the first advice he gives to the youth. He highlights that you need to obey your parents only when they are present. Otherwise, parents are going to make a lot of fuss about it. Point number two: be respectful towards your seniors, if you have any, also to strange and sometimes to others. If a person offends you and you're in doubt as to whether it was intentional or not, do not resort to extreme measures. Simply watch your chance and hit him with a brick. So don't do things outrightly. Hold your breath. Have patience. When the time is right, give it back to him. So this is the second point. So first one being selective obedience to parents. Second being respecting superiors. That will be sufficient if you shall find that he had not intended any offense. Come out frankly and confess yourself in the wrong when you struck him. So, the point is, if you feel that the person has wronged you, first beat him up. And later, if it is realized that no, no, this person wasn't at fault, you're free to go and ask for apology from him. This is the humor, this is the satire he is employing in this essay. Alright. Oh, acknowledge it like a man and say you didn't mean to. Yes, always avoid violence in this age of charity and kindliness. The time has gone by for such things. Live dynamite to the low and unrefined. Unrefined as in the ones who are not at all polished, who are not at all cultured, who are not at all civilized. So leave the dynamite, have patience, it will surely burst, and when the time is right, and your enemy or your superiors who have wronged you, shall the revenge be taken. Alright, so this is the second one. Third one: go to bed early, get up early. This is wise. Some authorities say get up with the sun, some say get up with one thing, others with another. But a lark is a singing bird, is really the best thing to get up with. It gives you a splendid reputation with everybody to know that you get up with the lark. And if you get the right kind of lark, and work at him right, you can easily train him to get up at 9:30 every time. It is no trick at all. So, this is the catch. This is what Mark Twain is saying. Mark Twain is saying that you should always wake up early and go to bed also early. Now, to wake up early, what you need to do, you need to get hold of a bird, a singing bird, and train him well. Train him to that extent where the bird starts singing quite late in the day, say at 9:30, and then you wake up. Then normal people will not be able to say that he wakes up late because he's waking up with the song of the bird. And birds usually sing early in the morning, but little will they know that it is you who have trained this bird to sing at 9:30. So this is the wit that this man Mark Twain is employing in his essay. So the first point being, so what are the three advices he's given till now? The first one is selective obedience to parents. The second one was respecting the superiors. And third one is wisdom of going to bed early and wisdom of waking up early. All right, now coming the fourth one, lying, telling lies. Now, as to the matter of lying, you want to be very careful about lying, otherwise, you're nearly sure to get caught. Once caught, you can never again be in the eyes to the good and the pure what you were before. Many a young person has injured himself permanently through a single clumsy and ill finished lie, the result of carelessness born of incomplete training. So, if you have to become a liar, you have to have a lot of practice, because many people who cannot lie properly, who did not master the art of lying, whenever they've tried lying, they've got caught. So if you have to be a good liar, you need to practice it thoroughly. So that, of course, is putting it rather stronger than necessary. Still, while I cannot go quite so far as that, I do maintain, and I believe I'm right, that the young ought to be temperate, measurable in the use of this great art until practice and experience shall give them that confidence, elegance, and precision which alone can make accomplishment graceful and profitable. So the art of lying has to be graceful and profitable at the same time. You see, what our political leaders do? They all come to give such bombastic and big shot lectures on ये करेंगे वो करेंगे इस वो नहीं किया उन लोगों ने हम लोग आएंगे तो ये करेंगे and so on and so forth. Lot of promises are made. Yeah, people very well know that none of these promises are true, yet they believe. Why? Because all the political leaders have mastered that art of making you believe in whatever they tell you. Alright. Patience, diligence, painstaking attention to detail. These are requirements. These in time will make the student perfect. So, what are the things you require to become a good liar? You need patience, you need diligence, you need attention to detail. You have to keep your eyes and ears open to, to listen to everything and anything which comes across you, so that you can build your story by incorporating these little details. Think what uh, think what tedious years of study, thought, practice, experience went to the equipment of that peerless old master who was able to impose upon the whole world the lofty and sounding maxim that truth is mighty and will prevail. So he is pointing this out, Mark Twain, that this philosopher told us what? That truth is the ultimate, and no matter what happens in the world, truth is only going to remain. But is it so in today's world? We get to see in today's world that if you are holding chairs of responsibility, if you're in control of power, if you own a lot of money, then whatever you tell is the truth. Rest, everything else is a lie. So, the most majestic compound fracture of fact which any of woman born has yet achieved. For history of our race and each individual's experience are sewn with thick evidences that a truth is not hard to kill and that a lie well told is immortal. It is very easy to fabricate a truth, but a lie well told with all nitty-gritties and details is immortal. Okay? There is in Boston, and he gives this example, there is in Boston a monument of a man who discovered anesthesia. Many people are aware in these latter days that the man didn't discover it at all but stole the discovery from another man. So it was till now believed that there was this particular man who had discovered anesthesia and his monument has been built in Boston. But now it is known that that man actually did not build it. He actually stole it from someone else. So a lie well told became immortal. Is this truth mighty and will it prevail? Ah, no, my hearers, the monument is made of hardy material, but that the lie it tells will outlast it million years. An awkward, feeble, leaky lie is a thing which you ought to make it to your unceasing study to avoid because sooner or later, if your lie is not well told, you will be get caught. Why you might as well tell the truth as once and be done with it. A feeble, stupid, preposterous lie will not live 2 years, except it be a slander upon somebody. So if a lie is not very well made story, it's going to at last at the most 2 years. So what's the use? So be a good liar, learn to concord stories, learn to fabricate stories. It is indestructible, then of course, but that is no merit of yours. A final word, begin your practice of this gracious and beautiful art early. Begin now. If I had begun earlier, I could have learned how. So, you need to start very early to become a good liar. And Mark Twain expresses his regret that he had understood it quite late in life, and he did not get the opportunity to start quite early. All right. Now comes the fifth one. Fifth advice. Never handle firearms ceaselessly, carelessly. The sorrow and suffering that have been caused through the innocent but heedless handling of firearms by the young. Only 4 days ago, right in the next farmhouse to the one where I'm spending the summer, a grandmother, old and grey and sweet, one of the loveliest spirits in the land, was sitting at her work when her young grandson crept in and got down an old, battered, rusty gun which had not been touched for many years and was supposed not to be loaded and pointed it at her, laughing and threatening to shoot. In her fright, she ran screaming and pleading towards the door on the other side of the room, but as she passed him, he placed the gun almost against her very breast and pulled the trigger. He had supposed it was not loaded, and he was right, it wasn't. So, the fifth piece of advice is that we need to handle firearms carefully. And he goes on to narrate a story how the grandson of a grandmother had, got the gun pointed at the grandmother, and the grandmother was so scared that that her grandson would shoot her. Luckily, when the trigger was pulled, the gun did not have any bullets. So he is being very, very cautious. He is warning the readers to use firearms carefully. So there wasn't any harm done. It is only case of that kind I ever heard of because USA is very infamous for these activities. Every other day in the news, you will get to hear children that some person has walked in a school and started shooting arbitrarily, and many people have died. So in USA, it is a very common practice for people to, move around with guns. That is why he addresses this particular advice. Therefore, just the same, don't you meddle with old unloaded firearms. They are the most deadly and unerring things that have been created by man. Why? Because it takes away life. You don't have to take any pains at all with them. You don't have to have a rest. You don't have to have any sights on the gun. You don't have to take aim. Even. No, you just pick out a relative and bang away and you're to get him. A youth who can't hit a cathedral at 30 yards with a Gatling gun in three-quarters of an hour can take up an old empty musket and bag his grandmother every time at 100. Think what Waterloo would have been if one of the armies had been boys with old muskets. Old muskets are old rusty guns, supposed not to be loaded. So, what would the Battle of Waterloo be if the people were carrying old guns which were unloaded? And the other army had been composed of their female relations. The very thought of it makes one shudder. There are many sorts of books. Now comes the sixth advice, the habit of reading good books. There are many sorts of books, but good ones are the ones for the young to read. Remember that they are a great and inestimable and unspeakable means of improvement. Therefore, be careful in your selection. My young friends, be very careful. Confine yourself exclusively to Robertson's sermons, Baxter's centuries, The Innocents Abroad, and the works of those kind. So he lists out categorically few books which the youth are supposed to read. There are certain markers on which he had separated these books out, and he feels the youth should only read these and not anything else. But I have said enough. I hope you will treasure up the instructions which I have given and make them a guide to your feet and a light to your understanding. Build your character thoughtfully and painstakingly upon these precepts, and by the by, when you have got it built, you will be surprised and gratified to see how nicely and sharply it resembles everybody's else's. This is the sarcasm. He says, I hope that you remember all these six advices that I have given you, and you build your life on the basis of these six advices. And when you grow up, you will realize that all of you are just the same. There is no individuality left in you. This is the sarcasm. In other words, what he is trying to say is that young people must think critically, must act independently, and create and carve their own niche and identity. There shouldn't be two people alike. Okay, this is the moot point of the essay advice to you, which is so replete with sarcasm, irony, and humor. Okay, so this is it, children. I'll repeat the six pointers once again. The first one is selective obedience to parents. The second one is respecting your seniors. Third one is wisdom of waking up early and going to bed. The third one is rather the other way around, going to bed early and waking up early. Fourth one is the art of lying. Fifth one is firearm etiquette, and the sixth one is reading good books. So these are the six principles on which Mark Twain has developed his essay, rather a speech. This is which was delivered. But when and where this is not known to us. All right. So we'll stop here today. I hope you like this video. This explanation has been lucid enough for you to score marks. And if you feel this video is helping you to write your answers better, please do not forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. It shall keep me motivated. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye. Take very good care of your health.